I'm Evan Inada, and I'm on a mission to visit craft food artisans in search of the perfect bite using Columbus Craft Meats Salami. The perfect bite consists of an ideal combination of flavors and textures that unite to create irresistible taste. Charcuterie plays a special role in the equation because it brings together diverse ingredients and encourages us to explore. Join us on an adventure to discover next-level charcuterie through the culinary offerings of cities across the country and around the world. See what perfect charcuterie bite is all about. Fiscalini Farmstead only sources milk from their own dairy farm and sticks to many of their family traditions carried on for generations. The cheese-making process is extremely involved and dates back years. They don't hesitate to come up with new artisan creations while standing true to their signature flavors. Salami and cheese are the anchor to every perfect charcuterie bite. Then comes in the acid, color, crunch, and wow factor. We constantly experiment with charcuterie and cheese pairings here at Columbus Craft Meats, always welcoming the chance to hear directly from the farmers and makers behind the products, so our boards can tell a story with our charcuterie.
Thank you for having us here today.
Thanks for coming out to join us in the Central Valley, and here we are just down the road from the cheese plant where all of the magic happens.
I love being here, and really, when you say everything's made here, right?
Right, so our cheeses are farmstead, and that means that we use only the milk from our cows, and we are able to control the entire process from start to finish. So we have the cows, we can monitor their diets, make sure that we're producing the best quality milk to in turn produce the best quality cheeses.
I love that, and I think quality is so important when it comes to like the parallels between us and your cheese business. It's quality really matters. Like the ingredients that you're putting into your products really come through in the flavor of everything here. So we're going to start off just building with your huge portfolio of cheese. Let's start off with the Italian styles. Tell me a little bit about your San Joaquin Gold, which is that's one of my favorites of yours, personally.
Sure, so the San Joaquin Gold was the first cheese that we ever created, and it is a hard Italian style cheese. Mm-hmm. It's considered an American original because when we started making cheese, we didn't quite know what we were doing. So while we thought we were making a fontina, it actually turned out that what we had crafted was original and didn't really fall into that category. So it's an exciting story to tell, and it's really fun to have watched this cheese evolve over the years. We kind of made some improvements, and it's one of our #1 sellers. It's an excellent cheese.
You could tell why it's won awards before, because it has those little crystals of flavor in there like a Parmigiano would have. And with your truffle cheese too, you're really bringing that Italian flavor to the mix. So what I love pairing with this is our Finocchione. So we have our Finocchione right here. It's a little wild fennel seed, fresh garlic, cherry wine on there. Really brings out that traditional flavor, and I think tradition is so important to the way that we work in terms of building all of our portfolio salami, really making sure that authenticity comes through in the flavor. So I'm going to start off with pairing the Finocchione here with the San Joaquin Gold. I love that style of just rich flavor all together. And then what I'm also going to add is to the truffle pairing is our Falino. Now our Falino, we actually have natural casings on there, so it really imparts the flavor into the meat even more so. We get that real rustic bite to it. So
these go great together. I'm kind of getting the saltiness from the meats, and then there's a nutty, buttery flavor from the cheese, and the two of those together are just phenomenal.
Just a match made in heaven.
Yes.
It's really easy to do. So Falino, great with that truffle cheese. We have the San Joaquin Gold with the Finocchione. And then since it's real more that Italian style for this charcuterie board, we're gonna build like Antipasto platter, old school style Antipasto platter. So we're gonna use the Mazzetta. Mazzetta uses a little white wine in this Italian mix. So just simple Antipasto olives. We're gonna go with a little bit of marinated artichokes too, to really kind of give it that traditional flavor. And then one last thing that I like adding into something like this is Marcona almonds for that crunch, because I think the reason why I love your cheese so much is there's a beautiful relationship in charcuterie around the meat and the cheese. It's always going to be those first two things you start with, is bringing out all the full flavor of that meat and cheese. The accoutrements just really bring to the support of flavor to it. And then having something crispy like a traditional cracker.
The crunch, yes.
Yeah.
I always think that that's important when trying to form these boards.
Totally. So we're going to put a little bit here. We're also going to put a little bit of pistachios here to give it that nice color and contrast. And right there, you have your Italian board. So, yeah. And I think really color means so much when you're coming to building a beautiful cheese board or charcuterie board, and really just bringing out all those aesthetics and make people want to dig in. So let's start digging in actually. So we have a little bit of soppressata here. We got your little wine-soaked cheese. And what I'm going to do actually is, again, we love Marconas here, but sometimes you got to put a little bit of extra things. Just like you're soaking it in Syrah, we're just going to add a little turbinado sugar and lavender into that mix, and actually going to shake it around to coat all that flavor, just like you would be dipping the Syrah in. And then
these are great together. I'm getting a little tanginess from the wine, and it's really a great pairing.
All you need, and then just take a little bit of grape afterwards, simple crisp grape,
All right.
and the crunch will be added to this little bit of lavender and turbinado sugar Marcona. Just brings out that little bit of sweetness. I think that just when you're sipping on a nice glass of wine and having this pairing right here, it just kind of just balances everything out and makes it a beautiful kind of finishing touch. In terms of the passion that comes into this, for making salami for Columbus, we consider that an art form. Is that the same kind of way that you guys approach your cheese?
Absolutely. Our cheesemakers are truly craftsmen. They are very passionate about what they do. It is a very handmade, artisan, small batch process. And each day they start with a vat of milk, and in 8 hours have crafted over 2,400 pounds of cheese. And to do that day over day and know that the cheese will be in our facility aging for different periods of time depending on variety, and then when its longevity continues and it's out the door. It truly is an art.
Yeah, that's great. And it comes through in the flavor really, and it's not easy work. Making cheese, I know I've seen it being done before. Does every cheese have like a different time that it takes? Because I know like for us, something like a Rosette de Leon or an Italian dry, depending on the diameter, it takes a little bit more time in the separate rooms. Is that kind of the same thing for cheese?
Yes, like for example, our San Joaquin Gold is aged about a year, and it has its own aging room where the temperature and humidity are very specific to what will help this cheese thrive.
So one of my favorite cheeses you guys make is the Old World Cheddar here. Just the amount of flavor and robust, like kind of umami that comes from this cheese. Does that just happen naturally, or is that like, how's the magic made in something like this?
That definitely is a process, and the Old World Aged Cheddar is our #1 selling cheese. We've won international awards on it, and that is because of the care and detail that the cheesemakers are putting into that cheese each day, and through the longevity that it's in the aging rooms with us. So we're using an English-style cheesecloth to protect the cheese during the process, making sure that the cheese is flipped appropriately so that the moisture doesn't sink down to one side. And then, a mold will grow on the outside of that cheese.
So I love how you really mentioned like that process of the Old World Cheddar and really having that cloth with the mold on the outside, and that's really how you build that flavor. I think the parallels between our crafts are so similar when you're talking about something like our Italian dry salami, and all the salami that we make. This white stuff you see is penicillium mold, and people get scared of the word mold, but what they don't understand is that's how the magic is made in cheese and salami, is really the mold itself. So I love how you say really there's no real wrong way to make charcuterie, but for the everyday eater, charcuterie sometimes is intimidating when you're looking at these beautiful spreads with all this color and crunch and everything else involved. People don't know what to do in making a charcuterie board. So what we like to do and focus around is like building perfect charcuterie bites to really make that process simple for them. The meat, the cheese, the little bit of acidity, the crunch. So what I'm gonna have you do is try one of our favorite bites, which is called the Unexpected. We have our bread and butter on our staple of Italian dry salami. This is one of our traditional salami that we're best known for, paired with your Old World Cheddar, which you're best known for, I'd say, more than anywhere in the marketplace.
Right.
So what I want you to do is just pick up a piece of your cheese and eat it in one bite with that Italian dry. And as you chew, I want you to grab a Justin's peanut butter cup. There's a little dark chocolate in the peanut butter cup. And what that does is, as you enjoy that meat and cheese relationship, that robust flavor, popping in that dark chocolate peanut butter cup actually just elevates that umami and that robustness of the meat and cheese itself. You don't really taste the peanut butter when people see it, like, oh, I don't know about that, but really just enjoy that meat and cheese relationship with that extra decadence, with that dark chocolate attitude, and then finish it off with that crisp apple.
Like you said, it's all about being adventurous and trying something that you wouldn't normally put together, but that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. And really that crispness, when you're talking about that acid and the crunch of a sweet apple, just really kind of cleanses your palate. And all you kind of taste is those little finishing, the saltiness of the meat and cheese, but then you get that peanut butter coming back into the flavor profile and really just kind of making you go, oh wow.
And like you mentioned, pairings can be simple.
Yeah.
They can be intimidating, but they don't need to be complex, and that was
as simple
excellent.
as things you could find in your refrigerator. And if you like this, then you could say, well, now you know what charcuterie is. It's all it is about. When you're eating cheddar especially, you want to have that boldness, that body that comes with cheddar cheese. And for these two, we have the habanero cheese as well as this is a smoked cheddar, right?
Correct.
Now tell me a little bit about both of these and how those flavors and the balance of that boldness, like how do you
Sure,
do that?
the habanero cheddar is one that we've been making since the beginning, and we just always knew that people appreciate a little spice, just a popular flavor, and we use habanero peppers and then habanero powder to create this cheese.
Okay.
And we want you to come back for more, so we don't want it to be so spicy that you can't swallow it. And you know, a lot of people will say that it's just perfect. They get just a little bit of the spice as soon as about the time they swallow it, and they're not really expecting it. You know, it's creamy, and you can just kind of move it around in your mouth a little bit, and then as soon as you go to swallow, that spice really does come through. So
Yeah, I'm
it's a
feeling
great
that heat
cheese.
right now, actually, because the first little chunk I had, I didn't have a pepper in it, and the last pop, I was like, ooh, there it is.
Yep.
That's the seed right there. So for us, like that little chili de árbol that we add in our hot sopressata, very similar. We don't want it to come in the first like initial bite of salami. It's more of that resonating heat that we're using the chili de árbol for to really bring in that flavor. So feel free to try this one.
All right.
As a pairing with the habanero. I love this little combination together as is. Adding a little bit of cherries. That seed, that habanero seed's really in my throat now, so it's great. But that fresh cherries, and then add that nice tartness to the mix to give it a little bit of balance. And then I like adding some figs as well, because figs really, it has a sweetness, but a sweetness that goes great with pairing with like smoked flavors or spicy flavors. I think it kind of tames it a little bit, just enough so you're not like running for water afterwards, and even when you get a nice seed like I just did in my bite. But one of the other things I love doing, again, we love Marcona almonds here with us. I'm just gonna add a little bit of Togarashi bourbon mix to the.
All right.
You're gonna love this combination when you're talking about just a little chorizo with that smoked cheddar, and then adding that
really
Togarashi, a little bourbon Marcona to the mix at the very, very end. I think really allows it to kind of pop, really getting that smoke to the fullest in the flavor without like washing out your palate.
This is an excellent pairing. You can really taste the smoke in both products, and
Thank
it's fantastic.
And then finishing it off with a little bit of blackberries, because you want a little bit of tartness to balance out all that bold flavor. And I also love adding some honey to this as well. So I'm just making sure that you always have some sweetness to balance it out. And honey's one of those things too that has that wow factor. So you're talking about the meat, the cheese, you have the acid, the crunch, but then that wow factor is really what brings everybody together and makes people want to dig in and dive into the charcuterie board and the flavor itself. So I love that relationship between the meat and cheese, but really for a charcuterie board, the thing that I love best is getting people to understand and try new flavors. We have the accoutrements, we have the sweetness, we have the crunch, we have all these specialty items that belong on a charcuterie board together. When you're making your cheese, there's all those different pairings and what you could do with the cheese afterwards. Does that come into play while you're creating these?
Absolutely. You know, we've got a variety of cheeses, and 3 of the cheeses we make are made with raw milk, and we're not adding any flavor to those. So those cheeses, when we think about pairings and where we want to see them later on, is we want that you really to taste that full flavor and the age on those products, because those are the products that we put the most care and detail in, because they've aged so long in our aging rooms. And the flavors, the truffle or the smoked or the habanero, the purple moon, those really allow people to be adventurous. Like you mentioned, there's no time like the present than to try something new. And you know, we love it when someone says, oh, I don't know, I'm not really sure about truffle, I don't really like it. And we say, oh, come on, try it.
Yeah.
You know, it's, like I said, you always want that cheddar flavor there too. And when they try it and they surprise themselves, there's nothing
see it in their eyes,
yeah.
They're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, nothing makes us happier, because people truly are able to pair, and there's no wrong pairing. It's whatever works for you.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, we definitely do think about that while we're trying to decide what flavors and cheeses should be added to our line.
Really, everybody's palate has something that they are attached to or drawn towards, and that's why you build the variety like you see here with this huge spread of all the different, like the bolder cheese, the traditional Italian. We even have with your Lyons charcuterie and the way that we do things. What I love most about it is it brings people together. I think food is fuel in my mind more than anything else. And for you, is that the passion that kind of drives you in making and continuing on this journey that you do?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it's about family and friendships and the land and the animals, and there's just so much that goes into this, and it brings people together, and it's a great story to tell and to share, and we love doing it, and we're going to continue and hope we're here in another 100 years.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Any journey to discover the perfect charcuterie bite should include artisan cheese alongside our salami. I knew a visit to Fiscalini Farmstead would be a great place to explore the flavors and textures necessary to create perfect charcuterie experiences. Today, the fourth generation at Fiscalini operates the business and continues a way of life that respects, preserves, and honors the animals, land, and its resources. We are both dedicated to sharing our crafts through food and flavor with the world.